Alright, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys are ready. Welcome back to the FSL MLBB, and this is the Myanmar tournament. We've got a grand finals coming up for you, and you've been watching and following all the way from the day before yesterday as well as to the matches. Thank you very much for sticking around. A big shout out to our official partners and sponsors as well, Dream Call, Super Solid, as well as Yahoo TV for making this possible. And fighting for the grand prize of 4,000 diamonds, we are down to our final two teams, Tale of Vendetta as well as Yangon Galaticos, and we are already in the draw, so let's just jump straight into it. And here we have it, the best two teams of this tournament currently. Remember, it's going to be a best of 5, and we've got Tale of Vendetta going to be on the blue side, and looks like they're going to be picking up, or rather taking out, both the Valor as well as the Claude, and then Yangon Galaticos taking away the Uranus. And among all the patches, or rather the changes in terms of the heroes, I would say I think only Lilia and Claude has seen the, I would say, the biggest difference, if I may put it that way. I mean, there's also a rework on a couple of the other heroes, like, you know, Hanzo had a slight change, and then we also had Camellia changed in terms of the Crimson Flower. You know, the HP restore on each sheet is kind of reduced by just a little bit, so that's also one of the aspects of Camellia getting changed in terms of mechanics. But all in all, most of the heroes are pretty much the same. The only few heroes that I think there are changes are like Diggy, you know, 50 damage reduction in all levels of the auto alarm bomb. Although he's still a hero that packs quite a punch, so still really viable in this meta. But with Valor getting banned out, it looks like Yangon Galaticos, they're gonna take out the Atlas. At the end of the day, Valor is only the true, I would say, true counter to Atlas, given that Valor can slow heroes down. You know, he's got a nasty stun every time he lands the third skills, and he reaches the max stack. And also, with the flame shot, he can kind of push Atlas back. So that's kind of the reason why they ban out the Atlas as well as the Valor. You're gonna see the X-Block and the Hylos getting picked up on the side of Yangon Galaticos, and looks like Tale of Vendetta are gonna pick up the Bruno as well as the Grog. So really early game comp coming up from Tale of Vendetta. I like that. I think the only biggest threat they should take out is either the carry or maybe even the Granger if they want to. I think carry would be a better ban, given that carry is really scary towards that near range combo that they have for Tale of Vendetta, especially against the Grog, who's going to be spending most of the time just frontlining for Tale of Vendetta, you know, creating the space needed for Bruno and the Cicelon to find the angle to work their way into team fights. Yangon Galaticos is going to pick up the Lilia. I think banning out a side lane would be good. Yep, so Leomon's going to be banned out. As for Tale of Vendetta, they should be target banning a marksman. Either that or actually take out another fighter. And remember, Sylvana as well as Zaz have been I would say disqualified, but taken out in this tournament, so you won't see any Sylvana, you won't see any Zaz, mainly because of the bugs of Sylvana and as well as Zaz. Although they have been patched this particular patch in 1.4.7, but that being said, we banned it for the first 2 days, so we definitely will not be seeing it for the grand finals. And looks like we're gonna have the Granger ban out for Tale of Vendetta. That's really good. I mean, on Yangon Galacticos side, there's still quite a substantial amount of heroes that's available to them. They can choose to either go for the MM, which should be, I guess they most likely pick up the carry. Carry would really make the most sense for them, given how the draft is centered around. They can go for Hanabi as well, but we have seen how that goes. If Hanabi doesn't go into late game, then she's it's really hard for the Hanabi to carry the team. So I think carry would work better. Tale of Vendetta once again going with the Kagura, which they're really comfortable on, and Nova has been playing a really sick Kagura. Pretty sure CS is going to be playing, they're pretty much in their own heroes per se. Ooh, I don't know. I think either carry, if they want, they can go 1-1, but it's super off meta. And yep, the carry is going to get picked up, and that's going to be Yangon Galaticos draft. They're going to pick up the Xbox, the Hylos, the Lilia, the Chow as well as the carry, whereas on the side of Tail Vendetta, they're going to pick up the Bruno, the Grog, the Kagura, the Cicilon, as well as the Tamus. I really like the Kagura coming out from Tail Vendetta, because you rarely do see players use Kagura as a support mage. I mean, given this current meta, she's one of those heroes where it works really well if you can find a good engagement. So it's always a tale of two ends, right? You're either really good as a Kagura in a team fight, or you just have no damage. That's just the unfortunate case for most Kagura players. And we have seen a couple of good Yin-Yang overturns from Nova from yesterday when they were playing the semi-finals. And I'm sure that she would definitely be hoping to keep that up coming into the grand finals.
All troops deployed. Initiate retreat.
So it looks like we're going to see the Kagura alongside the Cicilon in the mid, and that kind of gives them the long range engagement needed on these two mages. And looks like Vendetta wants to contest it. I'm not sure if they will be able to secure it for the side of Vendetta. Yep, they're going to give it over to the Lilia, or rather the carry, as they make their way into the red buff. Chow's going to be standing here just to protect their own blue buff, and that's going to go over to the Lilia. So both the MMs as well as the mage on the side of Yangon Galaticos will have the blue buffs, and obviously carry will pick up a red buff as well. So that's going to be a double stacked MM for at least the first 2 minutes. And we have also witnessed how scary CS can be as an offlaner. Once she goes into momentum, when she gets the farm up, she becomes really scary. She's also a really independent player on the offlane. Doesn't really need much support of teammates, which is always good to have on your team, because you don't really have to worry about, oh, my offlaner is not really doing really well. Do we have to constantly go down to help her in the lane? So, I'm sure that the other offlaners of the tournament are doing really well, but CS is just exceptionally well, especially on either the Reynas or Tamus. And obviously for all the players that play offlane or warrior roles, you always remember to have a large hero pool, because you don't wanna be a one-trick Uranus or one-trick Tamus or one-trick Chow, whatever it is, and when that hero gets banned out, then you don't really have anyone to use. But it looks like both teams are going to be pressuring the opposite lanes. Obviously Yangon Galaticos making work on the tier 1s on the bottom lane, and then you will have Tail Vendetta making work on the top side. And with the help of Carry and the rest of the teams, they will be taking the tier 1 on the bottom side. Same goes by Grog. Wow, that aggression coming from CY. Pretty sure she kind of used the wall charge over there to actually secure the kill onto Shiro. So that definitely does give Vendetta a little bit of a lead in terms of engagement, although Yangon Galaticos already taking that tier 1 in the mid lane. So in terms of rotation, Yangon Galaticos definitely a step ahead of the opponents. They also can go for this blue buff evade again. Sure, Vendetta do not want to give that out. However, K is going to secure it. And as of now, Yangon Galaticos have pretty much the best start available to them. They did manage to get both the tier 1s on the middle and the bot. They've lost first blood, but they did manage to go for both invid, so it's still pretty fair. The only alarming thing about their lanes are that CS is doing really well on the bottom for Vendetta, so that tier 1 might go down when Vendetta do want to make that push on the bottom side. carry already almost completing her endless battle.
Request backup.
Meanwhile, you've got Kiko.
Launch attack.
Currently in the mid lane, and now the next fight should be for Turtle. Yangon Galaticos once again objective minded. Will get the turtle of the game, the first turtle of the game that is.
Initiate retreat.
And Xbox already clearing up the waves on the top side. They should be able to get this tier 1 when the next wave comes in. And looks like Shiro is going to be leaving the task of taking tier 1s to the crypts.
Initiate retreat.
Tama's going to do the same thing on the opposite end. I think Imiko should have used the Way of the Dragon. Maybe that would have saved the tower. But there was also a range creep. And speaking of range creep, there's also a little bit of a slight change, I do believe. And the change is going to be the basic EXP. So standard gang coming down CS. They're going to use the glorious pathway as well to secure the kill. Meanwhile, middle lane Shiro
Initiate retreat.
gonna have support of the rest of Yangon Galaticos. So yeah, the only change of the siege minion coming in the first two waves is that the basic EXP is increased by 10%. So that does help the offlaners by a lot, I would say. I want to say a lot. Maybe that's a little bit of exaggeration. I think it's more of just a slight buff for the offlaners, because they're gonna be on the lane all alone. You know, those two waves does help quite a bit.
Launch attack.
It looks like Yangon Galaticos want to take this tier 2 on
Launch
the
attack.
top side. Decent damage on the top lane. Meanwhile, Vendetta, they want to make quick work of this middle buff. Kiko in a little bit of a trouble. Chow backing off at the very last second. But I'm sure one more stun should be able to do the trick. One more hit. The Ring of Punishment going to allow Panda to pick up
Initiate
the kill onto Kiko. And that's a good rotation coming on Yangon Galaticos as well, because now they're going to be able to secure that second turtle of the game, which kind of puts them roughly about 2k up in terms of net worth. Although Vendetta are not too far behind, with CS just cutting the waves on the bottom lane. If you look at the net worth between the Tamus as well as the Chow, they are not too far apart. In fact, the Chow is up in terms of goal lead because of the 2 turtle takes and the fact that, you know, Yangon Galaticos has been able to constantly take towers away from Vendetta. So that kind of explains why the Chow is above in net worth. And with the HP of the tier 2s already being so low, Yangon Galaticos, and fair play to them, they have been able to avoid, for the most part, you know, team fights that have been unfavorable. Imiko is gonna isolate CS, the Way of the Dragon, gonna kick CS all the way on the backside. He has Incurrent Inferno, but that's just a little bit too many heroes in the way. He's just gonna fall for the second time in a row.
backup. Launch attack.
And that's gonna buy the space needed for Imiko to push on the bottom lane without Atamus opposing her. Meanwhile, fight and the red buff, and K is gonna be able to pick that up. CY forced to use the flicker as Shiro uses her last insanity. And that's just a little bit of isolation work to make sure that Yangon Galaticos can claim that tier 2 bottom, or rather tier 2 tower on the bottom lane for themselves.
Launch request backup.
I think if I'm Vendetta at this point, the most important thing would be try to find a team fight or force Yangon Galaticos into bad team fight, and how that is possible would be to contest for the huge objectives like the turtle, like getting the Tamus as well as the Grog to go head first into the turtle pit would have been good, but You can see they're really focusing to get the farm on V at this point, where she hasn't really been able to get the buffs because of all the jungle invasions from Yangon Galaticos, and they're just constantly ahead in terms of objectives, right? You see this rotation coming from Panda. She's constantly checking the buffs to make sure that it's always up on time, and I'm sure that, you know, both the carrier as well as Monica, they're just, you know, keeping the team updated. You know, okay, my red buff is going down, I think we can invade now. And this has been the case for most part for Yangon Galaticos. Just objectives, the name of the game. Having good results so far. Panda's gonna join once again. CS getting stunned up, not being able to use the ultimate, and she will fall very quickly. Hero's gonna pick up their Tina shield. Pretty standard itemization coming with shield, and even Imiko has completed her Blade of Despair. Meanwhile, Yangon Galaticos once again going for the third invade, but this time around they do secure the blue buff. No, it's going to carry once again, and looks like Inyang Overturn will allow them to get the kill onto the Hylos, even though Hero's gonna fall by herself. She's gonna use the last Insanity, so they did manage to get one kill onto Nova, which isn't too bad.
Initiate retreat.
And speaking about Nova, she did go for the Lightning Transient.
Lord resurrecting soon.
You see they're prioritizing a lot of AoE damage coming out. Kiko is gonna do the same. Meanwhile, it looks like Yangon Galaticos should be able to get this tier, or rather this first slot, uncontested. So quite a similar game to what we saw between Reborn and PvE Pixies. Except for this time, the Yangon Galaticos are going full blown on objective staking right now. Expert gonna start with Last Insanity, gonna use that flicker to catch up. They managed to get V in a very bad spot, but with that tackle and the help of Nova and Kiko, they do isolate Yangon Galaticos away from the Bruno.
Request backup.
And even CS is trying to do her best
Attack.
to force YG back into defending that tier 2 on top lane. And obviously Shiro is going to be cutting the wave on the top side, allowing the Lord to push even quicker on the top lane. Okay, now pretty much full build. He's got her lightning belt completed. One more item, and I think Queen's Wing would work really well, although she's gone for a little bit more sustain, I would say. And that tier 1 tower is going to be taken down really soon. Wild charge being used, Last Insanity onto the back line. Carry is going to be able to get a kill onto Tamus. Nova trying to jump right in by herself. She's going to get taken out instantly, and Carry is now popping off. That's going to be a triple kill for the Carry. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the tier 3s on the top as well as the bot lane. And not much that Vendetta can do except push and take the objectives, or rather the jungle objectives in the game right now, because they did lose both the frontliners in Panda and Imiko, and without both the tanks, I would say there's really not much the Yangon Galaticos can really achieve, especially in the face of Kiko as well as V, who still have a ton of damage, right? Despite losing that fight, you have to take into account that there was a lot, there was super minions pushing down all 3 waves. So that kind of explains why, TOV had a really bad fight. But in general, if Nova can find a good Inyang Overturn, and given that, Kiko and V, they have really long range assaults, and we saw, Kiko doing really well with the Bad Feast, then I think they can still do a comeback. They need to find the kill onto K. The reason why they kind of got shredded in that fight was because both Monica and K were left alone to do the damage. They did manage to bring down Monica with the wild charge as well as the bad fist, but that being said, it's still going to be really hard for them to win a team fight if they do not take the carry down. Well, she was going to dive in by herself, forced to use the flicker on the backside, but V's already taken the Chow out. CS going to be using the Inferno, but not enough to keep herself alive. Nova will go down very shortly after that, and Yangon Galaticos, they can actually go for the GG push if they want to. Still have 4 members up. Monica going to use the black shoes. And Imiko is just going to front line for them, and look at how quickly CV is getting shredded. One more hit from K should do the job. Although CY has immortality. Once again, Vendetta just hanging on to that slither of hope of a comeback. But they do lose all tier 3 towers in their base.
Lord resurrecting soon.
Wind of Nature also coming up for the Bruno. So that's gonna help against the carry, but only for a slight while.
Initiate retreat.
Meanwhile, carry did manage to complete a Demon Hunter sword. So I like the fact that, you know, Kay did prioritize a lot on the attack speed first just to get the procs of her passive. And this is really smart, right? She went for she went for Endless Battle just to get the cooldown off, you know, try to get that attack speed going on. It does give a little bit of sustain. Overall, a very cheap and good item, which is why almost every single offlaner picks that item up nowadays. And then she actually went for the Golden Staff to further increase the attack speed. And eventually, she built into the Lightning Belt for that pure damage for every attack. And now they're going to siege Last Incendio on the back line. The Glorious Pathway will get late. They get the knockup onto CS, kicking her all the way back with Way of the Dragon. And this is pretty much it. With the Lord's help, they're going to secure that tier, or rather not the tier, but finish off their game and secure that first game in hand. YG looking dominant throughout the first game. And that is going to be it. YG walking away with the first game in hand. And it really came down to YG doing a really good job with managing the invasions as well as taking a lot of the jungle buffs away from Vendetta. That does add up to quite a bit of a deficit when you look at the goal, the net worth, as well as the, you know, the farm rate of both these MMs on the side. Remember, V and Nova as well as Kiko had, you know, most of the game without the buff, just because Yangon Galaticos were constantly invading and giving it over to the carry. You can look at that 14k or the 15k net worth as compared to V, who only had 10k. And it's no surprise that V has the most turret damage as well as the hero damage, alongside Shiro, who constantly trying to find a way to go in with the Last Insanity. So well played to Yangon Galaticos. We'll go for a short break, but when we are back, we'll give you game 2 between Vendetta as well as YG. Well, welcome back to the FSL Mobile Legends Bang Bang Myanmar tournament. My name's Aris, and big shout out to official partners before we begin game 2. We've got Dreamcore, Super Solid, and Yahoo as official partners, so shout out to them. And shout out for you guys for catching today's stream. The teams are already ready, so let's just jump straight into game 2's draft. And here we have it, the draft of game 2. Yangon Galaticos is going to be on the blue side this time round. They're going to ban out the Atlas and the Uranus. And Teal Vendetta is going to ban out the, I would say, Valor as well as the Sicilon. So pretty similar to draft to what we saw, but it's pretty similar bans to what we saw coming into for game 1. And I like the fact that they pick up the Hylos first. Hylos definitely helping Yangon Galaticos a lot in the previous game. And I like the fact that they are very confident with the draft, right? They're willing to give up a lot of the supports like carry. They're willing to give up the Diggy. They gave up a couple of the really meta heroes as well, like the Qualifier. And the reason why I think they want to focus on the Hylos getting picked up is because if you look at the way that they play, they want to have that fast pace ability to clear waves and have that very strong frontliner. You know, Hylos, he's really well-rounded. You know, you got Ring of Punishment, decent damage early game. You've got Glorious Pathway, which really does help the ultimate, and then you helps the team to engage, disengage, catch up to opponents, and even if Tail of Vendetta picks up a little more, they can catch him out because of the stun. So I think in general, Hylos is just a really good hero to have. Tail of Vendetta this time around, they want to pick up the Granger instead of giving it over to Yangon Galaticos, although I'm pretty sure they will pick up a carry if it isn't banned out. So you do take away the Chow, which is one of the main reasons why Yangon Galaticos was able to walk into the base and try to catch up members of Tail of Vendetta. And then you also have a Diggy getting picked up, which is really good. I mean, Diggy does help a lot, but there is the threat that Yangon Galaticos might go rogue. And I mean, they can just go completely rogue and pick out Esmeralda if they want to, which I don't know. It's possible. It's wacky, but we have seen Impurity Pixies do it. So we'll see how they want to draft. They ban on the Badang, so that's one threat of an off-laner getting taken out. And it looks like they're gonna pick up the Tamus for themselves. So Tail of Vendetta, I think they really want to get the Tamus constantly. They look like they're really comfortable with Tamus, and yes, for the most part, they have been able to pressure the off lane with Tamus getting picked up. But the main issue for Tail of Vendetta is the push coming from Yangon Galaticos, right? You have this case where Yangon Galaticos, they're really good with objectives, their timings are impeccable, and on top of it all, they have this very... They're on the same page of, let's take team fights only when we need to. Let's avoid most of the team fights. Let's force Tail of Vendetta out of the lane. Let's not give them any sort of a hope of protecting those turrets. And for the most part, they have been able to do that in game 1, which is why we saw, even though the kill volumes were too great, they were still able to take a lot of the towers within the first 10 minutes. And they're gonna pick up the Claude as well, which I can't believe has been left pretty unchecked all the way to the last draft. And for the last one, they're gonna pick up the... I believe that's gonna be the Chang'e getting picked up on the side of Tail of Vendetta. So a little bit of a long range, given that they have a lot of melee on the side. You know, Diggy is not really a melee, but you get my point, right? They've only got Tamus as their frontliner, so I think they're gonna pick up just to balance it out a little bit. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally back with game 2 between Yangon Galaticos and Vendetta. As you can see on the screen, they pretty much, or rather not they pretty much, but they went for the same draft, and no changes right there. So we finally got the second game officially underway. I like this coming up from Yangon Galaticos. Once again, trying to put pressure, especially with the with Panda at the front. We added the Ring of Punishment at level 1 Emiko, using the smart missiles to zone E out. And V is not going to be able to secure that blue buff. It's going to go over to the Claude. And this is an exceptionally good lane for Emiko, because if you look at the draft coming out from Vendetta, they don't really have someone that can match the pace of a Jawhead. She's going to be able to clear the waves really quickly with Ejector as well as the smart missiles, and once she gets the unstoppable force at level 4, then she can start going for ganks, try to go for the back line. And that is where I think Vendetta have to come up with an answer to try to stop the Jawhead for going for either the Granger or the Chang'e. It looks like Yangon Galaticos are really starting work on the tier 1 on the top side. Meanwhile, Tail of Vendetta doing pretty much the same thing on the opposite lanes. And looks like Xbox is gonna proxy farm pretty much in between the tier 3s and the tier 2. So Shiro doing a good job at making sure that Vendetta do not get the Tamus to disrupt their proxy farm. And I would say that Vendetta are pretty much doing the same thing, except, you know, you do not see that aggressive push coming up from the side of Vendetta. Shiro this time around hitting that level 5 earlier as compared to CS. Gonna be using that last Insanity right onto the Tamus. One more hit should be able to do the trick, and she will get the first blood on the top lane. Good solo kill coming in for Shiro. And I think this is the first time that we see CS have so much trouble on the top side. Yangon Galaticos now, Glorious Pathway getting laid out. Tyrant's Madness will get put, and the Jawhead uses Unstoppable Force to secure the kill onto Kufra. And K is going to be using that Blazing Duet to farm even quicker. They also have the support of Shiro that just came from the top side. And the toughest part of fighting against a Claude is not only the speed at which he or she can farm, but it also you also have to take into account that he has that battle mirror image, which means that he can always jump onto the backline if he needs to. And if you think about it, that's something that's really scary, right? You also have the Art of Thievery, which means Claude kind of just slows you down. You know, he's increased his attack speed by 3.5%. And it also stacks up to 10.5. Now, Last Insanity going to be going onto the backline. Noah dropping really low V. Forced to use Time's Journey to get her team out alive. But she will fall as a sacrifice, as Yangon Galaticos are wreaking havoc in the jungle of Vendetta. Meanwhile, CS trying to do her best as the Tamus to push. And obviously, CY wants to stop Panda from reaching onto the bottom lane. Well, I'm thinking the CS is pretty much dead because you got Panda that used the Lorn on the stun up. They managed to get K down in time. I'm sure they were gonna give this Q over to the Claude, just to make sure that she gets even more farm each minute. And Panda's gonna be more than happy to soak up those auto alarm bombs for her carry. CY jumps in with the Tyrant's Madness, Meteor Shower as well. They might be able to get Panda here, and can they get more? That is the question that Vendetta are looking to answer. Well, they did decent damage to the middle turret, but they did not manage to do anything other than get the kill onto the Hylos. So not the biggest loss for Yangon Galaticos, knowing that they did manage to get a solo kill onto the Tamus down in the bottom lane. And at this point of time, if you compare the farm between the Claude as well as the Granger, the Claude is currently 1.2k up, which is a significant lead. And K is probably going to build up the Demon Hunter Sword as the first item before she goes into probably what I would suspect the golden stuff. Pretty standard build for most Claudes out there.
Turtle resurrecting soon. Launch attack.
CS now once again in a 1v1 against Shiro, and if Shiro can get those stacks up as much as possible into CS, that's gonna do a lot of damage to Tamus. Even if Tamus does have the Corteran Inferno, I still think it's gonna be pretty hard for CS to sustain against an Xbox. Meanwhile, CY looking to charge right in. V is going to use the reverse time, but V has the back of Glorious Pathway getting laid out as well. Monica with the magic shockwave. And CY nearly goes down there, but Kiko comes out with the Death Sonata just to push Yangon Galaticos back.
Request backup. Initiate retreat.
Meanwhile, K and Emiko once again making this game a nightmare for CS.
Initiate retreat.
K opting to not use the Blazing Duet there. Kiko taking a lot of damage from Shiro. Meanwhile, on the opposite lane, you do see Emiko pushing down onto the bottom side.
Request backup.
Meteor Shower onto Shiro, and that's gonna allow them to get the kill on the Xbox. A little bit of overstay from the YG player. And this is what Vendetta have to do. They have to capitalize as much as possible on the greediness on the side of Yangon Galaticos. And now looks like they want to go for a team fight. CY nearly bring him down. Blazing Duet on top of the Glorious Pathway, but no Q there, as Qualifier manages to stay slightly out of range. But that does buy the space for Imiko to push on the bottom side. And looks like YG commit to this middle push. And now they're looking to take away the blue buff on the side of Teal Vendetta. Well, nothing much that Vendetta can do except maybe try to push on the top side, but Shiro is immediately there, always checking out. And the last Insanity just gonna instantly blow up CS. Remember, she has the max stacks up. And that Xbox is starting to be quite problematic for the side of Vendetta to deal with. And the issue for Vendetta is that they do not have the flexibility of Yangon Galaticos to catch up to form. Look at that, CY is going in, but where is the follow-up? There it is. Meteor Shower again later upon, but Shiro's just so tanky. She's gonna stand in front of all of them. The last Insanity gonna pick him up. Shiro's gonna get a double kill onto the Granger, and now they're gonna go back off. And like I said, it's a pure raw pace of Yangon Galaticos that is starving out Vendetta by so much, by such a huge margin, right? They're getting all these towers, and when it comes to team fight, if you think about it, you know, Panda can drop the Glorious Pathway to try to get her teammates to catch up to her when she wants to engage. Whereas if you look at the Kufra, yes, she does have the Tyrant's Revenge to jump in, but whenever CY engages, she has to wait for the rest of the teammates because the teammates are not as mobile as her. They don't really have as much gap closer to catch up to the Kufra, and so even if she has Tyrant's Rage, for most of the time that the members of Yangon Galaticos are getting stunned up, though that time is being used for the rest of Vendetta to catch up to the Kufra. It's not an engagement, it's more of just buying time for them to catch up. And once the stun comes off cooldown, then Yangon Galaticos is just gonna fight back. They just have the raw damage to fight back. Right, you got an Xbox, you have a jaw hit, you have a high loss that can soak up all the damage dealt, and then, you know, once all the CCs are being used by Vendetta, all that's left is for Shiro and K to just use their ultimates to blow up the backline, which is what's happening to the game right now. You see that Panda just dives right in. Shiro at the end of the Glorious Pathway to blow up members. They toss CY back, they isolate the Kufra, and they get the easy kill. And now with the Sage Minion, they should be able to get this tier 2 in the middle lane. Ice Dominance being picked up by Panda. And that's gonna help with slowing down the attack speed as well as the movement speed of the Tamus and the Granger. Well, V's trying to build into the Ice Queen one. She's got her fleeting time completed, but for the most part, I mean, her ultimate is just used to try to keep 1 or 2 members alive. They constantly have to sacrifice 1 member for the rest to get away. And whereas if you look over to the side Yangon Galaticos, they have been able to keep most of their members alive for majority of these team fights.
Initiate retreat.
Shiro just gonna be making sure that those waves get constantly pushed out. Imiko doing the same thing at the bottom lane. Like I said, the smart missiles and injector does allow her to quickly push those lanes, and smart missiles has a really low cooldown, so that does allow her to just constantly push every single time it's on cooldown. Yangon Galaticos now gonna be able to secure that tier 3 in the middle lane. Shiro in the middle of all of them, gonna jump in with the last Insanity. They do not have the tier 3 yet, but They have managed to get the Qualifier off the board. Another super minion wave coming in on the bottom lane. And here we go. Law and Order getting used to stun up CS, and look at the backline. DG is nearly going down. Claude using that, but Claude's gone down, so that does buy a little bit of time. But you can see YG, they don't really need the Claude there. There's just so much raw damage coming out from Shiro, as well as the Ring of Punishment. Emiko once again getting the ejector to toss the Tamus out of the base and securing their kill. And for this entirety, they do not have the Claude, but they should be able to secure game 2 here. GG to both teams, but YG now 2 foot, or rather 1 foot in, as the grand champions of this tournament. And what can I say? YG is just constantly piling so much pressure in the lanes, and or rather the off lanes in particular, to just try to pressure Vendetta into bad rotations. You can see Vendetta just has no way to try to catch up to the speed that YG can put. Remember I mentioned about, you know, if you look at the difference between the Hylos and the Kufra, Hylos is just so much more kit available to allow her team to catch up to her, and that's what Panda has been doing for most of the games, which is trying to get the members of a team to join her in the team fight, whereas CY has the initiation with the Tyrant's Rage, but she doesn't have anything else other than the Tyrant's Rage to stun up the opponents, to wait for a team to catch up to her when she's initiating with Tyrant's Revenge. So that's just one of the reasons why most of the team fights you see CY jumping in and then dying even before any team fight has really occurred. So with that being said, congratulations to the side of Yangon Galaticos. They walk away with game 2 in hand. Remember, this is a best of 5, so YG still needs one more game. Will we see a reverse sweep coming from Vendetta? We'll have to find out right after the commercial break. Well, welcome back to what might be the final matchup between Tail Vendetta and Yangon Galaticos. If Tail Vendetta wanna hope to win the game, or rather win the 4,000 eyes, that's a lot of eyes for the winners of the tournament, they will have to complete what is known as a reverse sweep over onto Yangon Galaticos. But for now, Yangon Galaticos need one more game to cement themselves as the grand champions of the FSL MLBB Myanmar tournament. And now we are going into game 3, and they're gonna pick up the Sicilon as well as the Xbox. So far it's pretty much the same draft, although Vendetta do ban out the Grok. As compared to, I do believe we haven't seen too much of a difference. I'm not sure why Zas is there. Okay, so just update why I'm so confused, because Zas and Sylvana are not supposed to be picked up. They are automatically banned for the tournament, because at the start, for those who have been playing ML, you do know that Sylvana has a bug where, you know, if you use your ultimate and you use your flame shot, you can actually stun a member for like a couple of seconds, which is why, you know, we kind of took her out of the draft. So because it has been, I think it's been fixed in yesterday's update, but because we banned it on the first day of the tournament, we can't allow the rest of the players to use it. So that's the reason why Sylvana was banned out. But that being said, Tail Vendetta, they pick up the Lunox, so for the first time we will see a Lunox getting picked up in the grand finals. We did see one during the qualifiers, and I think it was also used by Vendetta. And Yangon Galaticos is going to be picking up the Kufra for themselves. So this time around, a little bit of a swap. And I like this smart draft cover of Vendetta. They know that Yangon Galaticos are very, very comfortable on the Hylos. And so they pick up the Hylos for themselves. And I think it's a pretty smart draft. Like, you know, you don't really want to give... Not only do you deny them such a strong hero, but you can pick it up for yourself. The question is, will they ban out, will they take the jaw hit? Because they ban out the Claude, so that's 2 heroes that they had a lot of issue with coming into the first and the second game. And they decide to go for the Angela, which I think is pretty decent. I think Angela is one of those heroes where it's still really viable if you know how to use her properly, because she's she's kind of an iffy hero if you don't really put her in a good position, right? She's not really a tanker, you know. She's got really good support with the hard guard. She's got Puppet on the string, which is a pretty decent CC. But in general, what you need for her is to go onto the Lunox or the Tamus while they dive onto the backline, and that's essentially the reason why they kind of pick up the Angela. They also pick up the Roger as the MM, but that does open up the carry to Yangon Galaticos. And yes, indeed, they will pick her up. And I think between the Roger and the carry, I feel like Roger does pack quite a bit of a punch, because you know he has the light compounds, he has the bloodthirsty howl, which is something that's really scary to fight against a full slotted Roger. He can pretty much one-shot any MM in the game. The question is, will Yangon Galaticos allow them to reach the late game, because that is where the true damage of Roger comes up. If Roger can't really go into the late game, then that might be a bit of an issue for Vendetta. It is I wouldn't say it's a greedy draft, but it is a draft that needs a lot of farm, especially in the Tamus. You look at the Lunox, you look at the Roger, you know, you need a lot of farm on, especially on the Tamus as well as Roger. That being said, they have the Hylos on their end, so that might be able to buy some time. Yangon Galaticos on the other side, they do pick up the carry. You know, once she gets to Endless Battle, she's good to go. Then she can build into what I would say. I think given that we saw what K built in the first game, I'm sure that she's gonna build into probably the Golden Star first, and then the Lightning Belt, and then eventually completing the Demon Hunter Sword. But like I said, both builds are really, both MMs will be looking to go to the game as quick as possible. Quite similar to Hyper Carry at this point. Although we do see both majors now picking up the mask. I mean, obviously, given that they kind of fixed up the mask, you know, you no longer get the extra EXP and go. I like that Yangon Galaticos now know that they can't really invade, because they know that Vendetta do have the Hylos, so it's gonna be a lot harder as compared to invading a Kufra. So they play a little bit passive. They try to just take their own buff. I would have loved to see Vendetta invade, because you know they do have a Lunox and a Hylos, and they also have an Angela, so they do have to sustain because of the sorry, the love waves that the Angela can put out. I tricked up a little bit there, but yeah. I felt like they could have definitely put up a lot more aggression in the early game. We're gonna see Panda put a little bit of harassment. Gonna jump right in and stun up CY. Might just go down right here. They do get the first blood onto Monica. And good engagement coming up from Vendetta, and now they can also look to pressure the top side. Meanwhile, Roger's left to deal with the Xbox all by her own. And this is pretty good. I mean, Roger can do pretty well against the Xbox. I mean, she might not be able to take down an Xbox, but at least, you know, she's able to farm up by herself. So that does even things up a little bit for the side of Vendetta. She's definitely going for the Endless Battle as the first item. She's gonna for mana boots just so that she can spam a little bit more of those light compounds. Ibiko going a little bit aggressive on the top side. Way of the Dragon being used. He has just acknowledging that with a thumbs up.
Initiate retreat. Turtle resurrecting soon. Initiate retreat.
And they're even gonna use the hard guard just to try to keep the Tamus alive for now. Okay. Looking to start the turtle, but looks like they want to clear up the middle wave first. Now Obviously, they're gonna take up the blue buff for Monica. Or will they give it to K? Yes, they will.
Initiate retreat.
TOV. Gonna be clearing up the turtle. I like this rotation coming from TOV, but can they secure the turtle away? Yes, they can. With the Chaos Assault shot coming up from V. They might even get the kill onto Imiko. YG definitely not doing too well, but for Vendetta, it's a complete different tale compared to the first two games. Look at what you can do when you get a high loss. It's always nice to know that you have that ring of punishment. You know, you have a stun. It's just such a strong tank to have in this meta. CY gonna stun up Panda while V gonna use the light brilliance of the light. Trying to get a kill, but CY will go down to K right there. Overstayed for too long. Meanwhile, bottom middle lane Shiro did manage to secure the middle tower, and I'm sure CY will take quite a bit of damage, but she's still alive. And V is able to rotate down to get one more kill onto the Xbox. Well, all of this still working in the plans of Vendetta. Not only are they getting objectives across the map, they are able to buy time for Kiko to actually farm up on the Roger, and maybe it's a case of the Caster's Curse because they did manage to get the kill, especially the flame shot coming up from Monica, and K just gonna use the flicker to secure that kill onto the Roger.
Initiate retreat.
Glowing Wand gonna come up on the carry, or rather on the Lunox right now. Meanwhile, middle lane Panda once again might go down to the Chaos Assault shots. One more hit should do the trick. And you can see that, you know, with the pickup of the Angel and Hylos, they really do want to protect this Lunox. And it does give her a little bit of that license to dive towers. Gonna use all of the brilliance to do some damage onto K. Ulti on cooldown, can't really do too much damage. One more hit should do the trick. Oh, so close. But they should be able to get it with the next push. Meanwhile, Imiko making use of a passive to do that extra damage on tower.
Initiate retreat. Initiate retreat.
Meanwhile, you got Yangon Galaticos now rotating down onto the mid lane. I think the way that YG should try to come back from this is hold off enough time for K to farm up. I mean, they are behind by 2k, but compared to the first two games, they were so far ahead. So it isn't really the worst case scenario for them here. But they do need to keep their opponents in check. If TOV goes off a little bit too late, well, Tyrant's Rage coming in, and they do manage to stun up everyone. Way of the Dragon right onto Imiko, but we do see V being able to use all of the brilliance just in time, and they turn this fight around. They will bring K down, and it's Monica who's the last remaining member at the Lord's Pit. They take her down as well, and that's a complete win for the side of Tail Vendetta. Well, Shiro's got something to say about that. Try to pick up a solo kill onto CY, and decent damage by Shiro. She's going to do backline damage, but now, not only did she not manage to get the kill, but it's a complete team wipe by the side of Vendetta, who must be feeling pretty good now. Well, you got Kiko completing the Wind Talker, and look at that 1k with the crit. And this is where the Roger becomes really scary and viable in team fights. Although that being said, carry still poses a threat. So if Vendetta can do what they did in the last fight, which is, you know, really get all of them together, and I gotta say V was a little bit fortunate. If she got taken out earlier in team fights, I think the fight would not have went the way of Vendetta. But even with Way of the Dragon, even with so much CCs onto the Lunox, she still managed to get her Order of the Brilliance out in time, and that was thanks to, you know, the Hard Guard coming up from Nova just in time to give that barrier and keep the Lunox alive, or rather alive long enough to pull out her ultimate.
Request backup.
Immortality getting picked up by Shiro, while the rest of Tail Vendetta are pressuring up onto the top side. Bad Feast coming up from Monica, and they do once again get the kill onto the carry. Not only that, they complete on Shiro. Shiro using a little bit too early, and they might be able to get the Tamus down. Although it looks like TOV might have overstayed for a little bit. Monica will get the kill with the Sanguine Claws. And now they're gonna chase Nova off the top lane, while Kiko's just gonna be split push. Well, that is a small win in terms of team fight, but Shiro's gonna go down the top lane, switching it for the kill onto the Hylos. Not exactly sure if that was worth it, but it does give Shiro a little bit of a farm. Although I think the biggest threat for younger Galaticos right now is that Kiko has been left unchecked for far too long at the bottom lane, and now she's gonna build up her endless battle. She's got 1.2k crit. And you can see that when she's in a wolf form, she pretty much hurts for every basic attack. And with the increased movement speed, she's probably going to be rotating a lot quicker among the lanes.
Initiate retreat.
And while Yangon Galaticos still has the threat of the Lust Insanity from the Shiro, from Shiro's Xbox, as well as the big CC from Tyrant's Rage on the Krufa, it is going to be still quite an ordeal for them to find the right engagement. Kiko just waiting for the right time to pounce, and there is the targets coming out right now. He's got K in sight, and Panda's just going to run into Kiko just before she can put the combo off. I would love to see Kiko go a little bit ballsy there to try to get the kill onto the carry. That would have been quite a sight, but you know, safety first. There's no need to rush the issue when you're in the lead. And ooh, a little bit lucky for Ibiki to come out. If Siwa had turned on her Ring of Punishment there, that would have stopped Ibiko from TPing back to base. It looks like Tail Vendetta are going to stop up with the Lord. CY taking a lot of damage even before the fight occurs. They do manage to bring down the Hylos, and now they have the license to go forward. Kiko jumping onto Shiro. That's not the target that they want. Way of the Dragon right onto the Tamus, but Roger did manage to bring down Ibiko, and they're going to trade it out. They bring down Panda as well. Shiro is probably the next one to fall, and Carry in the middle of all, trying to secure the Lord. Oh no, yes, she will get it, but that's going to be sacrificing 4 members there. I felt like if K went for the fight, that would have been so much more productive for younger Galaticos, but hey, at least they got the Lord. But I'm not sure if they can do anything with that. Look at that. Despite winning the Lord fight, Vendetta's just getting so much more out of that. And they're just gonna push that down. They're probably gonna get the tier 3 on the top lane as well.
Initiate retreat.
But Ibiko does just come up in time to stun him up. Hard Guard comes up onto the Tamus to keep himself alive, or to keep him alive. I like that Vendetta are paying younger Galaticos the respect by backing off, knowing that they can't really achieve much by sticking around. So they're just gonna go back to farming. And at this point, V is pretty much full build. She's probably gonna go for immortality just to keep herself alive for the team fights. That being said, you gotta give. I think Vendetta have to give a lot of thanks to Nova for keeping either the Lunox or the Tamus alive for most of this fight. She's gonna go NOD as well, so that's gonna help even more against the sustain of both the carry as well as the Xbox. Looks like we're gonna see both teams just wait for the next major objective to come up. Vendetta just dropping the aggressiveness by just a little bit. Shiro now gonna spot out the high loss, gonna start up by building those flame stacks onto the opponents.
Initiate retreat. Initiate retreat. Initiate retreat. Request
And CY is probably gonna build into the antique chorus. And you can see that despite Monica not having a lot of farm in this game, she still has a lot of damage through the bad impact as well as the bad fist. So that is still one of the reasons why TOV can't really, or Vendetta can't really just blindly push into tier 3s as compared to what YG had in the previous game, where they could have just walked into the tier 3s, try to force the tower takes with the high loss. And also you got Shiro that has pure damage and max stacks, and this time around they split the fight into two. CY in the middle lane and Panda just handling V and CS on her own, but now they managed to get her up. K does manage to bring the high lows down and V in a really bad spot. CS is going down as well. They only lose Panda in the fight, and YG find themselves suddenly 3-1 ahead. And Shiro's not letting this down as well. Kiko, oh, he might have enough crit. He get the stun up. Kikundo and the immortality guard goes down. Kiko might go down for the second time. And this is a bad situation for Vendetta, who were playing a little bit too greedy there. CY got caught out in a bad position in the middle of the lane. And YG capitalized on that. Yangon Galaticos taking out the high loss in mid. You've got Shiro holding her own against both the Lunox as well as the Tamus. And obviously we saw Roger coming a little bit too late to the fight, nearly bringing K down, but good reaction coming up from Imiko to use the Chikundo as well as the Shimpu to stun up the Roger. Vendetta still 10k up in terms of goal lead, but can they withstand this push coming up from Monica as well as the rest of Yangon Galaticos? The Lord's just gonna take down the tier 2 pretty easily. But here comes the hard part. They have to defend against this tier 3 push. Well, we can see that the glorious pathway has been laid down, but no real engagement coming out from Vendetta. Monica is just going to use the bat's impact to keep her distance while doing damage from afar. They should be able to get this tier 3 because it's one hit away. And they might even find themselves CY, who's dropping really low. Bat Feast being put and Bat's impact as well. They managed to burn away the high loss, and without the front line, well, YG can go in if they want to. Oh, Panda with the Tyrant's Rage. They pull the Tamus even further back. Imiko goes down, but the Sanguine Claws will clump all of them together. Although Carry is still alive, they might be traded out. Kiko goes down, and they trade both the marksmen out. Shiro's now just buying time for the wave to push onto the top side. And it should be one more hit. And Vendetta lose both the tier 3s on the top and middle lane. All the distraction in the middle just to get tier 3s. This is superb coming up from YG. And with that fight, you can see that is a substantial dip and the goal lead that Vendetta had in prior to getting the Lord fight. And the 10k goal lead that we saw coming up before has now just read down to slightly about 8k. Although at this point I do feel like the goal lead doesn't really matter anymore, because you can see the damage output still coming through for Yangon Galaticos. As long as they can clump members of Vendetta up, then Monica can still do damage with the Bat's impact. He's got Bat's Feast, they have Xbox Lust Insanity, they've got the damage of K with the spinning light wheel, and then you also have a lot of just AoE damage output coming out from the mage. That being said, Vendetta still has the threat of the Roger, who can pretty much just one shot onto the Chow or the carry.
Initiate retreat.
I'm pretty sure Imiko should go Twilight Armor here. Panda gonna be running into CS, gonna spot him out. And even Monica's gonna build into a Tina shield just to soak up a little bit of damage coming up from the Lunox as well as Angela. And once again, CY being caught up in place, the Swanging Claws, the Sanguine Claws, just stopping Hylos from moving out of the position. Tier 3s already down on the top and middle lane, and looks like they want to go for this bottom tower. And now Lunox caught in a bad position. Shiro rotating around to flank onto the Lunox. Shiro now forced to use Last Insanity, and will the rest of YG come up? Well, they're gonna sacrifice Panda there. Although she does have the Immortality charge. One more hit for the tower to go down, but they do finally bring down the Kufa. And they trade it for the Lord. Shiro might just go down here. Lunox with the wave. And get 2 more kills once again. The greediness of YG not really paying off.
Shut down. Double kill. Initiate retreat.
Although you see Monica just trying to make use of this lot to front line for her, while she's constantly trying to get a bit of a push. Super minion waves coming in from the middle as well as the top. So that just means that Vendetta can't really do much despite winning the fight. I felt like Yangon Galaticos could have won that team fight if they had just dropped the Lord and took the fight up front, especially the part where Shiro and Panda bought a lot of time for the team to actually rotate. But that being said, I don't think they lost too much, because they did manage to secure the Lord after all. That does just buy a little bit of time for them to farm up even more. And I think most of the members are already full build. You can see carries already full build, Xbox full build as well. Even I would say even Kufra is nearing to the final item, which should be Immortality. I mean, she's got Immortality up, but I think Ice Dominance would be really good. Because for the most part, you're gonna see Panda stick onto the Roger, and that attack speed reduction will definitely help a lot in a team fight.
Initiate retreat. Launch attack.
Well, but at this point of time, the goal lead doesn't really matter anymore. And it all really comes down to who has the better engagement. CY has to be a little bit careful about her position. She has been caught out for a couple of times now.
Initiate retreat.
Meanwhile, YG trying to push onto the bottom lane. And they're slowly but surely chipping off that tier 3 tower at the bottom side of Vendetta's base.
Initiate
CY once again getting stunned up alongside CS with the Sanguine Claws. And look at that, the Bat's impact does hurt quite a bit. Bat Fist now being used to get the stun up onto CY, and once again the Hylos is the victim. And Kiko now forced to force a team fight, and she will just get instantly blown up. I feel like this is pretty much GG. Ree's probably gonna go down pretty soon, and this is it. YG complete the 3-0, and they are your grand champions of the FSL Mobile Legends Bang Bang Tournament for the Myanmar edition. I mean, what can I say right there? YG so dominant throughout the first 2 games, and then coming the third one, I think Vendetta put up an absolutely insane team fight. And you know, what can I say? It just really comes down to the experience of such a prominent team throughout the competition, not dropping a single game throughout. And then, you know, they went through, I would say I wouldn't say it's a tough bracket for them, but there were a couple of times where teams did put up a good fight, especially I would say Vendetta in that very final game. You know, they made their way, they managed to knock down members like Deity, they managed to knock down Reborn. And for the side of Yangon Galaticos, they had to go through Burmese Angels, they went through Impurity Pixies, and now they are standing right at the very top and walking away with 4,000 diamonds. Yes, that's right, you heard me correctly. 4,000 diamonds for Yangon Galaticos, and also claiming the title of the Myanmar champions for this edition of the FSL MLBB tournament. Congratulations to them, and obviously congratulations to Tail Vendetta as well. They will be walking with 2,000 diamonds. For 3rd and 4th place, Reborn, or rather for Impurity Pixies and Reborn respectively, they will walk away with 1,000 diamonds, so not too shabby from 1st to 4th place. Congratulations to all the winners, and thank you very much to all of you guys at home that have been watching the tournament. I had such a fun time casting the event. I hope that you guys follow the circuit news, and we'll try to get them to you as soon as possible. But before I end the stream, thank you very much to all our official partners, Dreamcore, Super Solid, as well as Yahoo TV. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible. My name is Aries, and once again, shout out to Myanmar, as well as all the viewers that have been watching from home. I had fun casting this, and I will see you next time round.